25 CF 146, sorry, 25 CF 43, State of Wisconsin versus Kenneth Achterling. Appearances are, we do have the state appearing through District Attorney Kevin Schmidt in person. We have Michelle Erdman, Defense Counsel, in person. Mr. Achterling appears in person in custody. We're set today in this matter for the sentencing portion of this case. Mr. Achterling did plead guilty to one count of receiving stolen property, a Class G felony. The court ordered a pre-sentence investigation report. The court has received and reviewed that report. I don't believe I have reviewed and received anything else other than that, except I did get a letter from Jim Hansen on behalf of Mr. Achterling on December 9th, 2025. Mr. Schmidt, we're in victims' rights compliance.
Yes.
Did you receive and review the pre-sentence investigation report?
I did. I reviewed it and I have no corrections.
Okay, Ms. Erdman, did you receive and review the pre-sentence investigation report?
I did. I spoke to Mr. Achterling about it in the jail today, and he does not have any changes or corrections.
All right, Mr. Achterling, did you have enough time to be able to go over the report and speak to your attorney about that?
Yes, sure.
So you thoroughly understand what's in that report?
Yes, sure.
And Ms. Erdman went over all of that with you?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, and there was no corrections or modifications for the record?
Not that I know of.
Okay, all right. Then Mr. Schmidt argument. Well, first we have a victim impact statement. If you would like to please come forward, come to that black table. You can provide your name or your initials if you wish to do so, and then provide a statement to the court.
My name is Mike McManus, McManus. I guess this is my third time doing this. I'm glad it's going to be done and over with, and I can move on with my life. You guys took a lot from me. Multiple trips. Like I said previous, I couldn't have hired a moving company to do a better job. A lot of the things you took had sentimental value to me. They weren't just financial. And I was woefully underinsured for what you took. You placed a huge financial burden on me. It's been 2 years now, I think. I've since built a house on that property. I now have a security system because of you guys. And I never thought I'd need something like that around here, to be honest with you. But I guess I should have known better, because this is the third time this has happened to me and my family. My parents bought that property in 1976. We had a cabin there. It was destroyed in a storm. We cleared the property. I settled up with my brother and sister. I ended up buying it from them. I put a fifth wheel camper on it, and I was spending my winters down in South Carolina. In fact, I'm heading there as soon as we're done here. And, you know, locks don't prevent things, apparently. I had the trailer locked. I had it chained to a tree. There were no keys in my four-wheeler. I read some text messages back and forth between Mr. Achterling and somebody else. I don't remember who it was, but about him discussing my bow, and then it boils my blood, to be honest with you. That thing was custom. I owned an archery shop in the Twin Cities, and that thing was custom made for me. It's left-handed, if you didn't notice. Custom color. Nobody else has one like that. I don't know what you did with it, but I sure miss it. I've replaced it, but it's not the same. Insurance doesn't cover things like the outboard motor that I learned how to operate a boat with. And you don't know this, but whoever got that's got a great motor, because I rebuilt it the summer before. It just needed a paint job and new decals. I have the decals if anybody wants them. It's just sad that people like you exist in this world, and I guess I'll leave it at that. I'm flabbergasted that you would spend so much time and energy doing something wrong when if all you did was turn your life around a little bit and do something right, you'd probably be a good citizen. So I'm requesting that he'd be given more time than what the DOC came up with in their pre-sentence investigation. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Mr. Schmidt, argument and sentencing recommendation, please.
Thank you. Judge, this one's a joint recommendation to the court of 3 years probation with 1 year of conditional jail. That would be within the low end of what DOC's recommendation is, since they recommended 1 to 2 in, 3 to 4 out. It's just structured differently because it's, the 1 year conditional jail with 3 years supervision versus a bifurcated sentence that's exactly the same thing. Especially in a case like this where Mr. Ochterling was arrested at the same time as Stephanie Ochterling, so he has the same amount of credit. I came up with 339 days. So if the court did a bifurcated sentence, he'd either not go to Dodge because so little time is remaining, or he'd go there and not even get sent anywhere because of processing. The reason for this recommendation is that while Kenneth Ochterling definitely has the worst criminal history of the 3 people involved in these offenses, he also is least tied to the evidence. His main ties were to 2 of the burglaries. Both of them were after the fact ties to it. One of them is, selling Mr. McManus's stuff that he talked about on there. The other, his DNA was on an ATV that was taken from a different victim and that was found in a different place. What sets him apart from English and Ochterling is his DNA wasn't at any of the crime scenes. So the reason why we originally charged him with all 5 is it was on the conspiracy theory, which the court ultimately rejected, which brought us more to the accessory after the fact, or just receiving stolen property is what we did here on this with these 2 that we could connect him to. That's why in this one, it's the plea to the receiving stolen property, and why the recommendation is lower given what his criminal history is, because we're looking at what the evidence actually showed we can connect him to, which is connection to selling the property afterwards. Or in the case of the ATV in Minnesota, the property after it was taken that also happened to have Robert English and Stephanie Ochterling's DNA in it. So, and we know they were the ones going around casing the same place as taking it. And it's not gone without notice that Stephanie and Robert English, neither of them have mentioned Kenneth in this. What they describe with casing the areas nearby and picking the properties unoccupied. This kind of involvement with the receiving stolen property with the burglars, I think with somebody who had lesser criminal history, maybe would be looking at just probation. The 1 year conditional jail is what exists because of the criminal history. Kenneth has a history where he should know the consequences of his action. We know he had contact with law enforcement on Robert English's receiving stolen property case, where Robert English claimed Kenneth burglarized it. Police could never substantiate that, so they only charged Robert and convicted Robert of it. So Kenneth knew that association with Robert would have risk and still did it anyways. And this is what the result was. That 1 year conditional jail is necessary to not depreciate the seriousness of the offense. It's the minimum amount necessary to accomplish the purposes of the sentence. It's how we deter him from doing this in the future. The probation is how we rehabilitate, or I think what's the strongest use of probation here, making sure there's no contact with Robert English in any way, shape, and form. Robert English is the one who has the strong connection to the area. He's the one who had the connection to all of the burglary places, because that's where he was residing, with his mother's house, which was the center point of where all these happened within that one to, I think the furthest one away was like 1.5 miles away. So preventing Kenneth Ochterling from having contact with Robert English is the best way to protect Burnett County in particular. I think the court should mirror what it did with Stephanie Ochterling's condition of probation, where it said no contact with Stephanie Ochterling unless I think the court said probation approved this they are relatives, they may have a legitimate reason to associate, or they might have a necessary reason to associate because of that in the future. But in general, I think the goal needs to be preventing these three people from associating with each other. It's a public safety issue when they do. And that's what the purpose of this sentence is designed to do and what I'm asking the court to do today. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Erdman?
Judge, we share in the recommendation that was joint to the court. I think I've been in this courtroom enough times to recall a lot of people come from Minnesota to commit crimes here, and it happens pretty regularly. I think some of the observations the court's made in the past is that the probation system or the system over there is not necessarily as robust as the system here, right? And I had that pretty candid conversation with Mr. Achterling today. I said, you know, I look and you've got a number of charges here, and if anybody had done for you then what this court's done now, things may be different. And I think that that's the biggest thing that we're asking the court to consider is this is the longest he's been incarcerated. Every time I talk to him, he is nervous, he's upset, he's, you know, this is something that has been a very big awakening for him. And the fact that there's been consequence, I think he has alluded to it before, Your Honor, in the last, at the plea hearing, but I think it's also in the report. And he said, this is good for me. This was a forced sobriety that I never would have had. And I'm choosing to look at it that way. I think there was a letter from a spiritual counselor in the file. He's got his acceptance to teen challenge, and that's still continues to be his plan, is to enroll into that program. And his motivation isn't just to get out of here and get out of trouble. I think you may recall from reading the PSI, he's got a daughter who I believe was 3 or 4 when he last saw her. And so sobriety is going to give him the tools to now connect with a child as an adult that he hasn't had that opportunity. So he's going to use these things. And one of the things that he did while he was incarcerated, and he's got a huge number of certificates for, our parenting classes for sure. I don't know if he did other, it looks like a lot of parenting classes though were the focus of where he was putting his time. Just recognizing that this is now an opportunity not only to be sober, but to make some connections. And he's someone who came from a pretty strong family. It wasn't a broken home, if you will. So he does appreciate the family, the importance of family and family connections. Regarding, the sentencing factors, the things that Your Honor needs to consider, I don't think that this year has been easy for him. It's not going to unduly depreciate anything by saying 1 year in jail, because it's been a very hard year. And he's not had that kind of punishment in the past, where we've seen him kind of connected. And I said, I'm a little concerned. I don't want the judge to think that you're not here taking your responsibility or ownership for your part in these things. But we were able to show the district attorney with specificity, here's what was alleged, here's where the GPS was, here's what, I mean, we kind of went through things and excluded him from a lot of the behavior. And I think, I wasn't here for the sentencings, but the fact that his name wasn't part of the casing and things doesn't surprise me. And that was why we structured it the way we did. Candidly, this was a trial case in a lot of ways. It would have been something where I think we potentially could have been, somewhat successful, but Robert did have some connection, or excuse me, Kenneth had some connection to this, and he doesn't dispute that. I mean, the DNA, I think on the ATV, he was riding in the back seat. The cigarette was in the back seat. The can Robert English was drinking from was in the front seat. This was after the fact, well after the fact. So he while loosely tied to it, it was still a connection. And that was what brought us to the value that made this such a significant level of punishment or penalty associated. And then in terms of the other belongings, it was more, they were stored at a location that was off-site. And if Mr. Achterling was able to find a successful buyer, he knew he could get a cut of the action, if you will, and support his drug habit. So addressing the underlying drug habit is certainly going to be the biggest thing that's going to change for the protection of the community, getting him sober, keeping him sober. And he's got a plan to do that in place. For those reasons, Your Honor, we just ask that you consider following the recommendation.
All right, thank you. Mr. Achterling, do you care to make any statement here today? If you do, this is your opportunity. If you don't feel like you have to.
Do you want to tell her about any of the stuff you did in the
I
jail?
mean, I've been going to AA every opportunity, same with parenting class, every opportunity that you guys offer, I've taken. I was accepted to Teen Challenge. They have a bed available. They said they sent this to you months ago, but I don't know if you ever got it. I just want to say I'm sorry for all this, and I want to do better.
All right, would you like me to look at those or not? I don't need to, it's up to you.
I think he brought them for that reason. I know a lot of counties have programming and the judges are kind of familiar, but if you'd like to see me work on it, that's good.
Thank you. Thank you. I have reviewed the admission to Teen Challenge along with the multiple parenting certificates that you have taken. Is there anything else that you would like me to be aware of or to know?
Just that I want to be there for my daughter again. And it's been tough, but I don't think I would have got sober had it not been for this. So, I mean, I'm grateful for that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, Mr. Achterling. I have received and reviewed the pre-sentence investigation report along with the other documents I have received today. I've heard arguments from both of the attorneys as well as an impact statement from one of the victims. You do have a criminal history. It's not voluminous, but it's not meager or small either. And it looks to be more along the same lines of the theft, the credit card fraudulent use, financial transaction card fraud, financial transaction card fraud again, couple driving after revocation maybe, and possession of 10 grams or more of a narcotic drug, forgery with intent to defraud, possession of a small amount of marijuana, and counterfeiting. The counterfeiting and the check forgery and the sale of the small amount of marijuana, those are very old, along with the driving after revocation. The other ones are newer within the last 5 years. It's not the most serious criminal record I've ever seen, but it's not something that is light either. This is the longest time you've sat incarcerated. And it's significant. It's 339 days. When I sentence an individual, we do things a little bit differently in Wisconsin than they do in Minnesota. And I'm going to tell you, it's probably a little bit more strict here, and there's more punishment here than there is in Minnesota. And that's because sometimes punishment is necessary to change somebody's habits or path or ways. Because if you keep getting on probation and there's nothing that's going to deter you from committing more crimes, even when you're on probation, I'm not saying that you were, but then what's going to stop and modify somebody's behavior? Nothing. That's why sometimes, maybe a lot of times, punishment is necessary. You've had a lot of punishment, even though it wasn't punishment, in sitting 339 days. Because these are serious crimes. You were originally charged with multiple serious crimes. However, as your attorney explained, through the process of looking through the discovery, the evidence, and working with the state and pinpointing the things down, you were involved in and with the crimes, but not to that degree. You're not doing those things. You weren't casing the joints. You weren't doing the burglaries. What your job was a part of this plan and the scheme was to get the property, receive that stolen property, and sell it or try and sell it and go like that. And as your attorney stated, it was for the most part to support your habit to live. Because I don't know, what did you do? Did you have a job
I mean, I've had a lot of jobs over the years.
over this time span?
I mean, I did gutters.
Why didn't you do more gutters?
Because the person I was working for was super lazy.
And why didn't you look for another gutter job?
Because he was the only one I knew who did it.
And why didn't you look for a job at the Quick Trip?
I mean, I was doing DoorDash and Instacart and stuff like that. So, I mean,
Why didn't, it doesn't sound like you were when you were doing those things, that those were jobs that fulfilled you or that occupied your time.
no, I didn't.
So why didn't you look for something that would do that?
Well, at the time I was a felon. And then I finally got that off my record. I was going to go back to doing cable. And then this happened.
Now you're a felon again.
Yeah.
So unfortunate that you were given a blessing that we don't have here in Wisconsin. You were given a blessing in Minnesota to have that felony work its way off of your record. And then unfortunately, you decided to engage in this conduct and this behavior that you knew was a crime, you knew it was against the law, you knew you were doing bad things. And now, unfortunately, you are a felon again. And this one's going to stay. This one, you don't have 5 years or so to have it work itself off of your criminal history. This one's a done deal. So now you're going to have to figure out how to actually change your life, how to actually change your habits, the things that you're doing, the use of the substances. You have to actually change your associates, the people that you're hanging out with and spending your time with, because so far it's been not that great.
Yeah.
And you have to work hard at changing yourself. That's the only way you're going to improve your life. And then you have to surround yourself with people who support a positive change and who align with the goals that you are setting, that you want with your life. You have to spend time with the people who can greatly influence a positive behavior and mindset. Not people like Robert English, who are concocting criminal schemes and plans, and you're going along with it, but you made that choice to go along with it. You have to align yourself with people who will put you on a better path. Teen Challenge is, I really respect that program. I respect it highly. And that is when the individuals go to this program and they give themselves to it. You have to give your all. You have to turn your whole life over because that's what you're doing. You're changing your entire life.
That's what I plan on.
You have 339 days of sobriety, forced sobriety, easy sobriety. You may have said, it's not easy being upstairs and it's not upstairs anymore, being over in the new jail and having 339 days. That was not easy sobriety. It's a whole heck of a lot easier than when you are released and you are in the public and you are amongst other people, because then it becomes a whole lot harder because then you have access.
Which is why I wanted Teen Challenge so bad.
And that's again going to be an additional forced sobriety. You're still going to have to work at it. But when you are in public, that's when the truth comes out. That's when you get to prove yourself and prove that you've taken control of your life. Because it's going to be easy. You know it's easy to find access to substances and to negative criminal behavior and a criminal mindset and thinking. It's easy. But it's hard to take control of your life. But you can do it. Now, when I look at sentencing, I have to look at the nature and the gravity of the offense. How serious is this matter? Then I have to look at you, your character, your past criminal record, your needs for rehabilitation, those types of things. Then thirdly, I have to look at the need to protect the public. That means the public at whole, as well as the specific victims who have been victimized. I also have to look at other factors such as the effect of the victims, and we've heard one impact, and I've heard others stated in the report. I have to look at if there are any undesirable behavior patterns that you're showing. I have to look at your culpability. I have to look at your age, your education, your history, and I have to look at deterrence, specific deterrence to deter you from continuing to commit crimes, especially ones like these, and general deterrence. A sentence that will deter others from wanting to do the same thing or wanting to come to Burnett County because they think it's an easy score. Okay. Now, in sentencing somebody, I have to also look at probation first. Even though this is going to be transferred to Minnesota under their probationary standards, it's going to be a Wisconsin probationary case, but I would need to look at probation first unless confinement is necessary to protect the public from further criminal activity. If it looks and appears from this document right here and from knowing all of the things I know that you're not going to make the changes you need, especially right away, and you're just going to go right back and commit crimes. Or if you need correctional treatment, meaning the only treatment that you're going to receive or you're willing to receive is forced treatment while in prison or in another institution, or if probation would unduly depreciate the seriousness of the offense. This is serious. Granted, you weren't the one doing the major parts of the crimes. You knew that they were happening. You were engaged in that kind of plot or scheme. However, your end was at the back end. You were the one receiving that property. You were the one who had to deal with the property, decide what to keep, what to sell. You know, if there's anything to give away, you wanted to give it to somebody else, or other exchanges. That was your role. Still makes it serious because of all of the impact that you have had, and you knew what was transpiring in this county. We have multiple burglaries here, some perhaps hit more than once by Mr. English. And so Burnett County as a whole was impacted significantly. Again, even if you weren't the one doing those burglaries, you weren't the one going into the property, you weren't the one breaking the locks or the windows or the things and taking that property, the personal property from the cabins and the homes and the things, you were involved in it on that back end. I stated previously in the other sentence with a co-defendant that with Burnett County is a vacation destination. It's a place where people come to essentially get away from the world. It's their home away from home, their place away from all of the stress and the frustration and the anxiety of the world, to come here and to just be able to breathe and decompress and to engage in all of the fun activities and recreational things that we have here in Burnett County. You may not be aware of this, but in Burnett County, in the winter months, in the down months, we only have a population of about 18 to 19,000. In the summer months and all of the festivities and all of the great weather and all of those things, our population increases to about 80,000 or more. See, your eyes lit up, didn't they? Because that's a huge increase in population. That's telling you how many vacation homes, cabins, properties, trailers, campers, all of those things that we have here in Burnett County. And so that means that they're targets. They get scoped, they get cased, and they're there where people know that they're either snowbirds or the people aren't here all the time, and they're easier targets than when they're lived in year round. And so the court has to look at that and to ensure that Burnett County is going to be safe and that you're not going to engage in further conduct with Mr. English and his plans and all of those things, because it wasn't his first time doing this in Burnett County as well, or perhaps other places. When I look at you, Mr. Achterling, I do hear a person who has perhaps finally realized that enough's enough. You're too old to continue with this crap, doing the same things and engaging in the same behaviors. Because if I look at your history, you were very young. Was it 8th grade? It was very young when you started using substances and alcohol and going down the wrong path. And as Ms. Birdman stated, you didn't have a terrible childhood. And you're shaking your head no. You had a good childhood. You had a mother who was there for you, who a family who loved you, a sister who probably worshiped you, and that's why she fell down the wrong path. That's why she started using the substances at an early age, because she looked up to her brother.
Yeah, after my grandma died.
After your grandma died, that was a big trauma to you. Well, then you need to perhaps work through those traumas in therapy and in other ways so that you can fix that or deal with that, so that you're not going to continue to be in that chair. Because until you do, until you heal those past traumas and work through those past traumas, you're not going to get to a stable place. And you're going to continue to self-medicate with alcohol and substances. Only you can take control of your life. Only you can do that. Only you can want it for you. Now, with the amount of cases here and meaning the burglaries and the things taken and the level, the amount of money of the stolen property, it makes it more serious. But I do see somebody who is willing to change, who wants to change, who perhaps was not yet given a real opportunity to change. And this is your one and only shot. With regards to this matter, and the receiving stolen property greater than $10,000, a Class G felony, the court is going to assess $518 in fines and fees. Stipulated restitution, Ms. Erdman.
Yes, Judge.
Restitution ordered in the amount of $32,344.84, joint and severally liable with other co-defendants. I'm ordering with regards to a sentence in this case. I am going to do 3 years of initial confinement, 3 years of extended supervision. I'm staying that, I'm imposing it, but I'm staying that, and I'm putting you on probation for a period of 4 years with these conditions. You must go to and successfully complete Teen Challenge. That is a year or more program. You must successfully complete. If you fail to complete that program, you could be revoked. No contact with Robert English. Well, first, in 1 year of conditional jail with credit for the 339 days. No contact with Robert English. No contact with Diana Bellinger, his mother, or her residence. If she moves, you can't have contact with her anywhere. No contact with Stephanie Achterling unless approved by your agent. Absolute sobriety. No use or possession of illegal drugs, substances, or paraphernalia. No alcohol. No bars, taverns, liquor stores, casinos, or establishments that have the primary purpose for the sale or the service of alcohol. Regular testing. Gainful employment or continued education. No contact with Burnett County except for probationary or court-related purposes or other approval as requested by the court. So if you have something else you wish to do in Burnett County, you must first write the court and get my permission and approval. No contact with any of the victims, their residences, their vacation properties, their families, etc. $15 hours of community service per year for the first 3 years while on probation. I'm stressing the fact that you must successfully complete that Teen Challenge program. You cannot terminate yourself. You cannot do something to have them terminate you. You will be subject to revocation. The court is going to order while you're in Teen Challenge that your payments will be $100 per month towards restitution and court costs and fees, etc., until you are released from Teen Challenge, and then it will increase to $500 per month. If you fail to pay your restitution payments, you will have restitution court, and that will also include while you are in Teen Challenge. So if you cannot figure out how to pay your $100 a month restitution payment, you're going to have to figure it out. You will have restitution court. With restitution court, you could be subject to other sanctions, which could include additional jail or revocation. You will be able to have a job in Teen Challenge, but not for a while. I can't remember when it is. And so if once you are in Teen Challenge and you don't feel you'll be able to make your first month or second month payment, you must write the court. You must let me know. The court will entertain early release from your conditional jail to be transferred to Teen Challenge. That is a place where you cannot leave, or if you do, you will be sent back to jail. So then that can be counted with your conditional jail. So if you can get a bed and you can get there in 10 days, then you need to let the court know so that I can be aware, and that perhaps can be achieved.
They do have a bed available.
Well, I don't know, you have to arrange transportation, you have to get a date set. They're not just gonna say you can come tomorrow. You have to figure that out. No contact with any convicted felons unless your agent approves. You must do all programming that your agent requires. The court is going to order that you engage in a criminal thinking program such as breaking barriers or thinking for a change, or some other program that Minnesota may use. You have 20 days to appeal. Should you fail to appeal within 20 days, you do lose that right. No use or possession of a firearm for life. No voting in any election until your civil rights are restored. I'm ordering your DNA. You may be able to have it expunged through a written letter to the Department of Justice, the Wisconsin Department of Justice, not to this court. I don't believe that this is one that you can have it expunged, but perhaps you can seek that. Mr. Schmidt, what am I missing?
Nothing for me.
Ms. Erdman?
Did you account for the jail credit already? Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Achterling, it is now in your hands, and your future is dependent upon what you do and the choices that you make. And it's going to start with Teen Challenge and completing that program. It's a very intense program, but if you can do it, I know plenty of people who have done it, who have turned their lives around. I know others who have then made the choice to go back to their negative ways. In your hands, your choice. I really hope that you're going to be able to do that. I don't believe that there's anything further at this time. Then we are adjourned.
Thank you.